All right, so we're going to discuss variables, and then I'll do a demonstration. Um, so, your book is going to show you something like this, I think. But the only variables I've ever... Okay, so first of all programs do three things. So maybe we write this out real quick, and I also discussed this in another video. Okay. I'll do a sketch pad real quick. Oh, shoot. Let's do a sketch pad. So all programs do three things, and it doesn't matter how complicated the program is. So three things all programs do. One, you declare variables. So when you declare a variable, you're basically telling the compiler, hey, I'm going to use this variable, okay? Now, what's the purpose of a variable to begin with? Variables vary, they change. So, like, for instance, if I had a variable int age, and I'll talk about what int means in a minute, my age is 41, okay? But you guys watching this, if we had some sort of program that asked the user, please enter your age, just a second, I'm gonna pause it. Sorry, I got kids in the background. I think they're gonna try to be quiet, but we'll see. But let's say we had a program that asked the user a question. Please enter your age. Well, my age is 41. Okay. Your age might be 25 or whatever. And so you have to be able to account for whatever the user is going to enter into a variable, all right? So first thing you need to do is you need to declare the variable so that the compiler knows what variables are going to use, okay? And so the second thing you do is you assign variables. Okay, now everything we're going to do in like this class is something like this, just easy stuff where we're inputting information into basic variables. But it doesn't matter. The hardest video games that you guys play, like I don't know, I used to play Call of Duty and those type of games. I mean, those are infinitely harder than anything we'll do in this class or in college in general. But it's the same kind of thing. All of it is just variables. And you declare them, you assign them information, and then you display them in some way. Okay, so those are the three basic things all programs do. And so when we start off with programming, all we're doing is just like learning how to display information to the screen, because that's ultimately how you visualize how this stuff's working. You display information and you're declaring and assigning variables, and that's a lot of what we're going to do for this first chapter and pretty much all the videos demonstrations that I'm creating. Okay, now back to this picture. You're looking at this and it's kind of overwhelming. But really and I look at this int, unsigned int, signed int, short, all this different stuff. So, think about it like this. If I asked you to think of a number, in your head, you could think of, infinity or whatever number you want. Sorry, I gotta pause it again. All right, sorry about that. The kids are getting loud. Okay, so anyway, back to what I was saying. You could see tables like this, and you're sitting here going, it's a little bit overwhelming. All right. Throughout, when I was a database programmer before I got into education, the only variables I ever used were ints, doubles, chars, And I don't see Boolean on here. Boolean is supposed to, Boolean, which is just BOOL, and that holds true or false. Okay, so it's bool, and that stands for Boolean for true and false. Okay, so what does all this stuff mean? So I go back to my example before I was interrupted, that you guys can think of any number in your head, and it could be as long and large as you want. But there's a very real problem with storage space, and it used to be, from my understanding, a bigger issue, but I actually think it's becoming an issue again, with all the data and movies and video games that we're all playing over the internet. And you hear about like Amazon or Facebook or YouTube, and the amount of data that they have to store and the amount of server space. For most of us at the individual level, I've actually filled up, because I've made all these videos. I've made hundreds of videos with Java and Python and now C++. Like, I could fill up a pretty good hard drive or even a laptop computer. But for most of us, storage space isn't that big of an issue. Most people haven't filled up all their storage space on their computers. But back in the day, it was definitely more of a big issue. And this was before a lot of globalization, and setting up chip factories all throughout Asia. And so what programmers did is they said, okay, an integer is going to hold, a number between, this range. Okay. Let me see here. A double is going to hold information between this range. And if you need to, if you want to use something smaller, I don't see I guess, I don't know. Where's let's say you wanted to use the national debt, right? You're probably going to have to use, let me think here, how the national debt's like 25 trillion or something like that. You're going to have to use a bigger number than what's on this image. Let me think here. There's, you're going to have to even use a bigger number than a long int. So you might have to bump that up to, like a float or a double. But if you're using a smaller integer like age, you could just use an int, because no one's going to live longer than 32,000 years. Now, once you start getting into like the age of like planets or the universe or whatever, then you're looking at larger numbers, all right? But for the most part, integers work for whole numbers. Integers are whole numbers. Double is a number that has a decimal place. So anything with like money or interest rates or whatever, those would be doubles. A char is anything in single quotes. So like, I just put like an S there. So like, let's say you had char, I don't know, male, or sorry, I don't know, like if you were to fill out some sort of form like char gender or whatever, and that'd be equal to like F for female, or whatever. Again, Boolean is true or false. So again, the big ones that I use are int, double, char, Boolean, and we'll get into strings as well. on this. Strings are treated a little bit differently, but strings are basically just sentences. But these are the big ones. This is really all you need to know for most of the things that you're going to do when you're working and declaring your variables and assigning them. These are the kind of the 5 that you'll need. All these other ones you can kind of just not worry about them. So let's also look at now C++ and Java, the big programming languages, they're all case sensitive, and let's see what that means. So everything in, I've got a blank one. Okay, cool. So everything in programming can be broken down into binary. So I just typed an A in here and I converted it, and there's A's binary equivalent. So uppercase A is that, and let's look at lowercase a. Convert that. All right, so now certain classes you'll actually spend time figuring out how to convert decimal numbers to binary numbers, or hex to decimal, octal. There's different number systems. The binary number system is ones or zeros, and it basically all started with electricity, on representing a 1 and off representing a 0. So it was a switch. And so basically all of, the computer doesn't understand human language at all. It only understands electricity because, it's just hardware, electricity on and off. So the whoever came up with all this stuff, I don't actually know. It's very it's amazing to me that this stuff was invented I don't know, 80 years, 90 years, I don't know how long ago this stuff was all invented, but it's amazing to me that people thought of all this. And just today, most people still don't know how to program. Most people are illiterate when it comes to programming, and so this has been around for a long time and almost nobody knows anything about it. But if you look here, and uppercase A is represented by 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, and a lowercase a is 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. And so these numbers are interpreted by the compiler completely differently because their binary numbers are different. And so case sensitive, it just means you gotta worry about casing, uppercase and lowercase. Now, I always try to break everything down to its simplest form. I try not to complicate things, and in that way, I might not be teaching you guys the best way, but in my mind, there's so much stuff going on when you're first learning how to program that I don't think you should worry and waste your time, worrying about camel casing and uppercasing the classes. And, I just think that I have just been taught from day one, just make everything lowercase and don't worry about casing. Just make it all lowercase. It won't harm anything. Now, if you're at a big corporation, you might have to you probably have to unlearn that. But for what we're doing in school, just make it lowercase so that you don't have to, make small issues and worry about things. So, let's see here. So what we're going to do now, we'll end up writing this program here. So this program's called name, age, and annual income. It says write a program that declares the following: a string variable named name, an int variable named age, and a double variable named annual pay. Store your age, name, and desired annual income as literals in these variables. The program should display these values on the screen in a manner similar to the following. All right, so when we first start learning to code, you're going to be reading these kind of program descriptions. And one of the hardest things for most students are word problems. And so we need to come up with a way to be able to interpret these things and turn English language into computer code. And instead of just reading this and go, I don't know what I'm doing, and throwing up your arms, this is a reading strategy to actually help you think about how to do this. So when you're doing this, the title, I always make that my the name of my class, okay? And so name, age, income are all nouns, and this is going to be my title. So I'm going to call this thing name, age, income. Okay. So what are we trying to do? We're just trying to display the name, age, and income, in a sentence. Sorry about my writing. It's really bad. So first thing we got to do, and the way I came up with this when I was working with high school kids, I'm working with 14, 15-year-olds. And so what I'm trying to drill down to, like, kids won't do their work. And then I go, well, why not? And they go, I don't understand it. And like that kind of, I can't do anything to or help, I don't understand. So I got to drill down further. Well, what don't you understand? And the first thing that I need to figure out is, can they at least read this and tell me what the purpose of the program is? Okay. If they can't do this first step, so step 1, I go, okay, this class is probably not for you because you have problems with reading still, and it would probably be better to take, there's like kind of tutoring and remedial like reading classes in high school. And so, if they can't just do the basics of reading, then this class isn't for them, and they'll sit there and they'll probably fail it. And so that's when I can get a hold of a counselor and say, hey, listen, this isn't an appropriate kid for the student. He or she should probably be in a different course. And that's, I'm there to teach how to program, not basic reading. And my assumption is that they have their basic reading down before they come into my course. Okay. So, we get past this, they can demonstrate this, and I go, okay, so that's the first strategy, that's done. So now let's move to step 2. So step 2 is identifying your nouns and verbs. Okay. Now, at first you might not get why exactly we're doing this, but it starts to make more sense as you get better at programming, all right? So nouns are person, place, or thing, and verbs are action words, okay? So I tell kids, circle your nouns, underline your verbs, okay? So circle nouns, noun, verbs, write, program is a noun, declares, so a string and variable named name, int, variable age, double variable annual pay, store, age, name, income, variables, program, display, screen in a manner similar to the following, and then they want us to put it in that format. Okay, so There are, now when I say this isn't an exact science, this is where you as a programmer need to determine what's important and what's not important. So there are words in the English language is very wordy, especially compared to a program. And you'll see this. This is, like this takes up 20% of your page trying to tell the user what to do. When we get into the program and we write this, you'll see we're only going to use a few of these words and display the information to the screen. We're not going to use all this stuff. So you need to determine what words are important and what words aren't. So I've got the word write. I've got program. I've got name, age, income. What else do I have? I got variable. I got string, int, double. Is there any other ones? Value, screen. Okay, I think that's about all. So next up, I've got write. I got declares. I got display. And I think I hit all of them. Okay, so what I tell kids or students at the high school level is that you're always going to write a program. Okay, so that's not, and so you're always going to write a program. That's not specific to what you're actually doing. Okay, it's just telling you to do something, but it's not specific to what your program's actually going to do. So this is where we start crossing things off. You're always going to, assign values to information, and you're going to display things to the screen. So you're not going to use that. Okay, you're always going to have variables. You're always going to declare variables. Now, display, that's something that you want to keep. Name, you want to keep. Age, because these are specific to the program. Income. And then what you're actually going to do for the data type, you're going to put that up there. Name, string, int, age. And so these are words that you're going to use, all right? Double, and that's getting hard to see. But what I've done now is I've gotten rid of the things that we don't need, and now I have things that we are going to need. Okay, so let me erase some of this stuff, and I am actually going to. So what we end up making is this thing called a UML model here down in this box. Okay. And what I tell everybody to do, I'm like, all right, so break this box up into 3 separate boxes in here. So draw lines in there. And so this right here, name, age, income, is going to be the name of my class. So almost always the title that you get is going to be the name of your class. So you'll say that name, age, income. And you're going to see more UML models later on, and they're going to look a bit more professional than what I'm writing. But ideally, you should be able to program from your UML model. UML is Universal Modeling Language. And so ideally, you don't want to program from this right here. You want to program from a UML model, and that's a strategy that makes it easier, because then you just look at the UML model and go, okay, I just need to add I've got the name, I've got my variables, and I got my functions that I'm going to use, okay? So in here is your variable declaration. So you're going to have string name, int, age, double income, and right here you're just going to display. Now the idea, you're going to display something, but display what? And so what I do is I go, okay, what are you going to display? And you go back to the purpose of the program. You're going to display name, age, income. Okay. And that's going to be your function that you use. Now, I I'm going to write everything in main, and then I'm going to switch it up and demonstrate how to do it in how you really should do it with a function, okay? But for these first programs, they should be really easy, and that's where I'm going to demonstrate functions so that you don't have to learn about functions later on and kind of freak out. And it goes along well with the reading strategies I'm teaching here. Now, this last box with decision-making structures, we're not there yet, so you just don't even have to worry about that. But ideally, what I did is I took this entire thing right here, and I put it into this easy-to-read, except for the handwriting's bad, but easy-to-read UML model with everything that we need to do for our program, okay? So, I'm going to open up my Visual Studio. Now, you guys can download this. Most of the programs that we do, you have your book compiler, but I'm going to use this, and it is what it is. So, I show you in one of the videos how to download it, and I would rather you guys do a professional compiler and see how this thing works. But if you want to use, what's in the book in class, that's fine too. So, I said it's called name, age, income, but everything that we always create at first, I call it main, name, age, income. And we're going to get into creating more than one file in here. And so I always call the first one main, and I'll show you why here in a second. Because main has the main function in it. The main class has the main function in it. And I'm going to delete some of this stuff. Well, you know what? I'll keep it up there for a minute. So, notice how it says main right there? That's your main function. Okay. Now remember, these are single comments. You notice you can write whatever you want in them. Once they're commented out, the compiler doesn't read it. Okay. And so let's see here. So again, I call this one main because then I can recognize it's the main file, and I can open it up and I can go, oh, there's main. Now main is the first thing that automatically, this main function right here is the first thing that automatically gets called, and so it's going to read this line of code or whatever's in here. All right. So, and I think I talked about using namespace in one of the previous programs, but this will allow me to get rid of this std : stuff. So I use that. So let me think here. So remember, so in our UML model that I used, I've got, and I say it's name, age, income, but really I call it main, name, age, income. I just didn't write it out, whatever. So I got my variable string name, int age, double income. Okay. So I can say string name, int age, and double income. Okay. Now, what we're going to do at first, we're just going to assign in these first programs. I'm not going to ask the user to enter in information, so they're not going to be dynamic. We're actually going to hard code them to whatever I put in there. So it wanted you to put the name is equal to Joe Mahoney. Mahoney. My name is Joe Mahoney. My age is 26, and I hope to earn 100,000. Okay, so age equals 26, and income equals 100,000. Okay, so we told the compiler, "Hey, compiler, I've got a name variable that's a string, and it's holding anything. A string is anything inside quotes." Age is a whole number, so there's no decimal places here. Doubles can hold integer whole number values, but when you display them, it would pop up like that. So I don't know. Let's just put, I hope to earn $100,000.99. Okay. So now all we're going to do is display this to the screen right here. So my name is, and then we're going to do some string concatenation. Name, and let's see what does it say here? My name is Joe Mahoney, and then I got to do plus a comma, and I can say space, my age is. Now, if you're using like Java or Python, you could just do a plus sign and say age right here. I'm pretty sure that's going to create issues though. So the way that you have to deal with this, with the string concatenation, it's not this works fine because these are all strings, right? These are all strings. But when you start trying to add strings and numbers, it doesn't like that. So you're going to do something like that. So it'd be my name is Joe Mahoney, comma, my age is 26, and then I want this on a separate line, so I'm going to use this end L, okay, and then C out, so that's going to end the line and go to a new one. And so I'm trying to keep it in this format. It says, I hope to earn $100,000 per year. So we would do, and I hope to earn, let's see here, income, $100,000, and then per year. All right, let's run this and see if this works out okay. Error list, what's going on here? Oh, so semicolons end statements. So a statement is like a sentence. So this whole thing is a statement, and I need to put a semicolon there to end that. And it would do the same thing, you know, these all are statements, so they all need semicolons to end it. It indicates to the compiler that that line of code is done. So if you get that error, that's what it is. So it says, my name is Joe Mahoney, comma, my age is 26, and I hope to earn, and it actually rounded it up, $100,001 per year. Let me see, you know, that would be fine, I'm guessing right there. It's still doing that. Alright, well, and I'll have to figure out a video where I show you how to display that out, but that's fine. It's not a big deal. Let's keep going here. So this is like the basics, and this is what you probably are just going to see in the book. But since all of this is relatively easy, I like to, you know, forward think and put a little bit more advanced stuff in there so that you guys can kind of learn this stuff, how to do it from day one, so that when we actually do get to more advanced stuff, you can wrestle with that and not have and then not have to be intimidated with having to wrestle with the harder stuff and then having to deal with functions. So ideally, you have these things called functions, and this is where the verbs come in. You know, the purpose is to display the information. Well, what are you displaying? You're displaying this right here, okay? So I am going to create a function. I'm going to say void display name, age, income. Okay. And I'm going to throw what I did here in there. Okay. Because that's what it's going to do. Now, I have issues here. But what I can do is, I don't want to pass information yet. Let me just copy that and paste it right there. I can define my variables outside my main function. And then so you're probably going, well, what's the point of the main function? Well, the main function is going to, so these are defined and they could actually be used in here or here. And so, but what I'm going to do then is my main function is just going to call display name, age, income. Okay, and so I've got my variables defined and declared. It goes into main. I display my information, and then it's going to go in here, and then my function is going to display, okay, the information. And then you get this right here. Okay, so it's really not that much different, but again, when we call a method, all it does is jump to that method, and your method, whatever the purpose is, it does that, all right? So, you know, by the end of the semester, you're going to be writing functions. So if you want to, you know, follow the book and do everything in main, I'm not going to mark you wrong, but I definitely want to show you different ways, you know, where we're moving towards at first so that you guys can kind of think through that. So anyway, this video is done.